Hundreds of thousands of Bangladeshis have fled, saving only what they can carry as severe floods have washed away their homes.
The river burst its banks. The water was up to my neck. It destroyed my house. I moved what was left to the other side of the river.
Around a third of the country has been underwater since the end of last month. Some flooding is normal during the monsoon in low-lying Bangladesh, but this year the rains were so strong that water levels rose for a second time after receding. Officials estimate nearly 4 million people have been affected. Most of them have been displaced, at least 200 killed. And as water levels rise, so does the poverty rate. Farmers have lost their livestock and crops, with the floods destroying 80,000 hectares of paddy fields. That's threatening to worsen food insecurity in a country where more than a third of the population already lives in extreme poverty. In Luhajang, a village 55 kilometers from the capital Dhaka, local authorities have been distributing food and other relief.
Hundreds of people here in Lohajang have lost their homes. Many have fled to higher ground. Today we're using a trawler to go from house to house, distributing relief.
The impact of this year's floods has been worsened by the coronavirus pandemic. Bangladesh is one of the world's biggest exporters of labor and depends heavily on remittances. But thousands of its citizens have had to return from abroad after losing their jobs. The country has reported more than 260,000 infections and more than 3,500 deaths. As they struggle with health and natural crises, Bangladeshis know that an economic crisis is surely just over the horizon. Sibel Karkus, TRT World.
Well, let's get more on the Bangladesh floods now with Atwar Rahman, who joins us from Tangail in Bangladesh. He's the Humanitarian Program and Operations Lead at Oxfam. Welcome to the program, Atwar. Now, these are terrible flooding events in Bangladesh right now, perhaps the worst in 10 or even 20 years. Can you just explain to us what the humanitarian situation is right now?
Actually, since 27th of June, there is a severe flooding in Bangladesh and impacting 5.4 million people in 30 districts, and there are more than 1 million people are displaced, and this huge number of crops are damaged and agricultural land are inundated, and there are loss of 42 million USD crops, and also there are damage of livestock and fisheries. This prolonged flood. It's not 20 years. It's more than 30 years back. There is a severe flooding like this, but this year flooding actually impacted more. There's a COVID pandemic in the country, along with just in May there is a cyclone Amphan as well. So this prolonged flood actually exacerbated huge effect of the poor people, especially these people who are living in the isolated island. I mean the riverine islands, they are impacted more, especially the women, lactating mother, pregnant women, a person with disabilities.
That's right.
And children, they are suffering very much, and there is a possibility of huge food insecurity, because there is actually basically due to COVID pandemic, there is no work. People do not have any work. The income they have lost their income. So now they are adopting negative coping mechanism to manage their food. And there is a back-to-back flooding in the country. I mean, in 2016, 2017, and 2019, there is a severe flood as well. So actually, the flood cycle actually needs 3 to 5 years to recover. But due to back-to-back flood, this year the recovery will need more support, more external resources. And there is a humanitarian response and recovery plan from the Humanitarian Coordination Task Team, amounting the target of 1 million people with the amount of 40 million USD. But only
Can I just
few
interrupt
amounts
you
are
there, Atwar, because as you mentioned, Cyclone Amphan only hit the region 2 months ago, and Bangladesh is also struggling through the coronavirus pandemic. So what aid does Bangladesh need right now?
At this moment, Bangladesh needs actually food security and livelihood recovery support, along with wash infrastructure repairment, especially the latrine. Huge number of latrine and toilets are damaged due to flooding. So, food security and wash intervention are highly important at this point to save the people, because due to the lack of safe drinking water, these waterborne diseases are reported in the area, especially the diarrheal disease and dysentery are reported. So food security and livelihood support is very much needed immediately, and also including some early recovery initiatives, because people lost their capital to manage their food. So recovery, livelihood recovery is also an important part, along with the wash infrastructure.
Atwar Rahman from Oxfam in Bangladesh. We'll have to leave it there, but best of luck with your work, and thank you again for joining us on Money Talks.